oh, you should travel before it's too late.
Are they dead?
No, they're not dead. They just fell asleep on the boat.
You said before it's too late.
Hey y'all, it's LJ here, owner and founder of Smart Moms Plan Disney and Smart Moms Travel. We are so glad you're here for another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. Now, here's your host, Allie.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Smart Moms Plan Disney podcast. I'm your host, Allie. Today I'm here with Katie and Becky. Good morning, girls.
Good morning, indeed. I am so tired.
Oh my gosh, I feel that.
We have been talking about the summer exhaustion a lot on this show, and it's so funny because I just think it's a topic that's at the front of all of our minds. Like summer is so different, and I was talking to you all about how like some of my days I'm getting up later than I would for a normal school morning, and it still just feels even more exhausting because something about summer activity and heat and like the knot structure just has us totally in chaos.
Well, I am a night owl and I'm going to hit snooze every single day. Sometimes I'm going to hit snooze 5 times and it drives Sean absolutely crazy. But being at the park yesterday, it just adds an extra level of tired, adding a 3.5-hour drive to being in the parks in the heat and the humidity. It's just, I'm tired.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I have actually, fun fact, I have never hit snooze ever. That's one of my 2 truths and a lie thing is I've never hit snooze in my life.
That actually tracks pretty well.
Yeah, it does. I wake up like a Pop-Tart popping out of a toaster.
I am dumbfounded by that. I cannot believe you've never hit snooze. And I am like the person that never wakes up before my alarm clock goes off. It's just.
Oh, no. I was up this morning. My alarm was set for 7:40 and I woke up at like 5:50.
Oh my, I tend to not wake up before I'm supposed to. And if I do, I'm very frustrated. This has been a crazy week because we've been prepping for our dance nationals and as our listeners are getting to hear this, we actually just got back and I covered it on our stories. And it was really cool for me to have those worlds collide. I talk about owning a dance studio and I obviously talk about Disney all the time. And so having those two together was, really thrilling and exhausting and really just amazing.
I loved watching on the stories. Anytime any of us are doing stories on Instagram, it gives us more of a let's stop missing Disney so much. Let us be there in our happy place. Collide that with your dancing world, and you kind of have some dancers that are living that Disney dream, which is amazing. I love the takeovers because it lets us have little peeks into how each of us do Disney, and all of us do Disney pretty differently.
We do.
Yeah, definitely. This week as we're recording, I've been having to get up really early to get my kids to another activity that they're at. And it's been really brutal. Just coupled with everything else we have going on. But the plus side of it is they're at sleepaway camp now, like as I'm recording this. So it's like a little bit of they're going to enjoy themselves while I enjoy myself. And it's going to be really good for a moment. So today we're going to talk about non-height requirement rides. Okay, so we did an episode. Listeners hopefully remember. And if you haven't already listened, you definitely want to catch that. We did an episode already where we ranked all of the non-height required rides at Magic Kingdom. Planned originally to sort of do that by park, but combined, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom combined have fewer non-height requirement rides than Magic Kingdom does alone.
Yeah, I guess it's not super surprising because Magic Kingdom has so many attractions. Like my complaint about Hollywood Studios is usually they need more rides because they have to disperse the crowds more there.
Yeah, we recently did the entertainment and shows episode as well. And I think we highlighted a lot about what these parks have to offer that are not attractions, So This is not to say that they don't have incredible offerings for little kids. It's just that it's not necessarily a ride. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to combine the remaining 3 parks that we have and rank all of the non-height requirement rides left and put those kind of head to head against one another. So I'm really excited about it. Do you all remember, think back when you were a kid, the very first big kid ride experience you had?
I was traumatized at Disneyland because I wanted to go on a big kid ride. And all of my siblings, like I was the youngest at the time, and my three other older siblings were teenagers, and I wanted so badly to go on Splash Mountain, and I wasn't big enough. And so that
Oh,
ruined Disneyland for me. I wanted to just go back to the hotel and swim because I wanted so bad to go on the rides I couldn't go on. But in Utah, they have a theme park called Lagoon. And I remember specifically going on the ride called Colossus. And I was certain that when I went on that ride, I was terrified because I remember, just like you talk about your son, Allie, when like he just wants to be tall enough, right? I remember wanting to be tall enough to go on Colossus. And I was terrified because it went upside down and it goes up a massive hill and then it goes down a huge hill and goes upside down 2 times. And I was certain that the lap bar was going to come up and I was going to be upside down in this loop, hanging onto my lap bar, hanging upside down, like out of the roller coaster. I was certain that was going to
oh
happen.
my God.
Did you love it when you finally got to ride it?
Oh my gosh, I got off like laughing, crying. Of course, I've been doing that my entire life. I loved it so much.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So I was the opposite. I was always really tall and usually tall enough to ride the big rides, but I was too afraid to. It drove my parents nuts because I wouldn't ride the rides that I was tall enough to ride. You all know that I proudly wave my black and gold Yinzer flag because I'm from around the Pittsburgh area. And my first big kid rides happened in Kennywood. My grandpa was actually like a historian and he really loved talking about the history of Kennywood and everything. But one of the old coasters there, I guess it depends on what you consider a big kid ride. I mean, I guess my first coaster was the Racer, which is a wooden coaster that has two trains that are, racing each other, basically, right? But if you don't consider that one like a big kid ride that goes upside down or loops or anything like that, I guess the other one would be the Phantom, which is also at Kennywood. I spent my summers going to Kennywood Park and I loved it very much. But what's funny is it took me so long to embrace that part. I feel like I've said on the podcast before, I'm a thrill junkie and I live for that now. But I was in my teen years by the time I decided to try a coaster.
Are you sure you've never been to Kings Island? Because in Cincinnati, we have Kings Island, and that's just like iconic here. And we have the Racer, wooden coaster, side by side trains. When I was little, they were a forward car and a backward car, and it was like you would choose forward or backward.
Oh, that's cool.
They both go forward now, which is such a bummer because I used to always love going backward. Yeah, but they both go forward. But mine was actually at Kings Island, and it's a similar story to y'all. It was called the Vortex. And I was the smallest of my family. I was the smallest of my friends. And I would just look at the Vortex. It's not there anymore. They tore it down a couple of years ago, which was really sad. But I would just stare at the Vortex, like maybe one day. And the day I was tall enough, I did feel like my son. Like I think I probably almost cried, but I was a lot older. I was too short for a long time. Actually, I have a really embarrassing story. I was at Kings Island and I was in junior high. I got invited to a birthday party. And it was a big deal because I was a seventh grader and the party I was invited to was an eighth grader. I was the only seventh grader invited, right? So it was like a big deal. I was a little anxious because I didn't know these kids that well, but I definitely wanted to go, and it was at Kings Island. And we had this stand-up coaster called the King Cobra. And you would like kind of sit on a little bike seat, but really you were mostly standing, and it just had like a harness. Really cool, went upside down, crazy.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
I had not ridden it yet, and I had not ridden really anything yet. I hadn't been on the Vortex yet. It just like wasn't tall enough. Like that's like, listen to how old I was. I was just short for a long time. And so I'm in line and I was so nervous, but I wanted to hide that because these were the older cool kids that I didn't know, right? So I was just like, well, I'm going to be really brave and they're just going to think that I'm totally cool with this because I'm not going to show my fear. And we're waiting in the line and we get all up there to the little, it's our turn. And the employee at Kings Island said, can I measure you really fast?
Oh,
And we got
no.
we got to the front and I wasn't tall enough, you guys.
Oh my gosh.
I did.
Terrible.
They put me in a child corral. in the thing, and I watched the eighth graders zoom out on their like stand up. Oh my gosh. I played it off so cool. Like I laughed and I was just like, it's no problem. Like I'm short, whatever. I was mortified.
Oh my
But
God.
and actually like everybody they were cool. They joked with me. Maybe they were laughing at me, not with me. I don't know. But it was the funniest thing. But eventually I did get on the rides and they were also, I'm a junkie. But the thing about Disney is that they have such a good balance of those thrills and offerings like this for poor people like me that are never going to height into the rides.
Seventh grade Allie didn't have like the platform Converse that can add just that boost you need.
What was I
Oh,
thinking? Why didn't I have on like platform sneakers were a thing?
yeah, they were.
Why were my decisions that I was making back then?
Oh man. I'm curious to see, especially Katie, because Katie's the young one on our team. I'm curious to see when you're getting closer to 40, like I have always been a thrill junkie, but I dare say since my 40th birthday, going on thrill rides is no longer what I'm drawn to. Like something in my head, something in my stomach, I don't know, something in my being is more drawn to the non-thrill rides at this point. I still love them and I'll still go on all of them, but if I was choosing between Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway and Tron, I would choose probably Mickey's Runaway Railway.
Yeah, interesting.
I probably would too, but we'll get into that later.
I think Railway versus Tron is a hard comparison. Like, I think that question framed a little differently, I would still pick the thrill, but out of those two, probably not. I just have kind of noticed the older I've been getting and the closer to 40 I'm getting, I just get a little bit more nauseous than I usually would. I can't do things as back to back or as intensely as I like.
Listen, if that's coming for me, I'm gonna feel so sad about it.
Yeah, like Star Tours used to be my favorite, and it really gives me a hard time now at Hollywood. It's
Aw.
just like I get a little sick.
Maybe Katie will be the 80-year-old, like scooting up on her scooter up to any roller coaster, still like strap me in, let's go.
Yeah, I want to be that one for sure.
So, for listeners that have never done a ranking episode with us, what are you doing? Go back and listen to them all when you're finished with this one. But if you are new, I'll just let you in on how we do this. We're going to rank all of these attractions today across the remaining three parks on a scale of 1 to 100. And we kind of do that broad spectrum because we like to consider a lot of things when we're talking about these attractions or whatever it is we're ranking. And we really want to get a broad enough spectrum that we can get a good average to really rank these in order. So we're going to talk about them classified by the remaining parks. So if you're listening, following along, taking notes for your vacation, you can definitely keep it organized in your mind of where you can find each of these attractions as we're talking. And then at the end, we're going to have a list that's going to throw them all together. And I'm actually really curious to see, like, do some of the attractions from one park all end up at the top or all end up at the bottom, or are they truly mixed in together? That's going to be very fun to kind of see how they play against one another because our final list will just be an overall ranking. So make sure you listen all the way to the end of the episode to find out what is the best ranked number one attraction with no height requirement at every park besides Magic Kingdom. And then maybe we need to figure out what won at Magic Kingdom versus what wins today and like what is the ultimate. My kids love all these rides and all the shows. I mean, is there anything at Disney that your kids love besides the attractions?
Oh, my kids love the fireworks, just with me. Like fireworks is just something that we really, really look forward to. And speaking of fireworks, I just watched the drone show at Disney Springs. And of course, this is going to be very short-lived, so you may or may not get the chance to see it. I really am hopeful that this is a trial to see if they can get it into one of the parks because I was wowed by that drone show. My kids weren't with me, and I wish so badly that they were because I watched that. And remember when Stacy said a couple episodes ago how she was just like, somebody's kid is dancing their guts out, living their dream in Magic Kingdom. I felt that out.
Yes.
I felt that moment in the drone show last night. Like somebody's kid grew up, chased a dream, and designed this incredible drone show. And I walked away just feeling like, gosh, I hope my kids do something amazing like that.
I think that every time I experience anything new at Disney, back when Harmonious was playing at Epcot, Becky's crying right now. You can't see her, but she's crying. Back when Harmonious was playing for the 50th anniversary of Disney World at Epcot, we saw Harmonious in its opening week, and we go usually to get our spot for fireworks shows pretty early. So we had the most center, beautiful spot you could possibly have for Harmonious. And we stood next to one of the head Imagineers for the show, and his whole family was there to see it for the first
Oh
time.
my
So I
gosh.
was crying, like literally watching this guy, exactly what you were just saying, Becky, like, oh my gosh, this was his dream. Look what he did. He's sharing it with his family. They must be so proud. I remember that moment so much because it was, first of all, the show was unbelievable. Don't even get me started on how it was so short-lived and now we have what we have there. But to experience it with a head Imagineer and his family, it was just beyond.
Yeah, that's incredible. I
Yeah.
can't say that I've had any moments like that necessarily where I got to experience something with like an Imagineer or something, but my kids love I feel like I talk about this all the time in my group, but like people don't really have a full sense of what all is there. They look at a height chart of the rides at Disney and they say, "Oh, well, my little one can't do anything." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, there's so much more. There is so much more." There's all these rides without height restrictions that we're going to talk about, but like the shows, the fireworks that you mentioned, the parades are incredible. I have had so many magical moments with my kids interacting with characters in the parade. I have had magical moments interacting with characters in the parade. I love them. But even at the end of our show's episode, I said there was a few that didn't quite make the list that I wish that they had. We were in Epcot this week and we pulled into the parking lot, and my middle daughter, Emma, who's 5, she saw the Spaceship Earth, the big Epcot ball, she calls it. And she goes, "Oh, we're at Epcot. Can we do Turtle Talk with Crush today?" And I was like, okay, kiddo. And she got to like talk to Crush and everything in the show. Like she was so wowed by that. And I feel like Turtle Talk with Crush is not usually something that comes up on these lists, but it's definitely not something you should miss either. There's a lot in the parks just besides the rides.
Definitely. Well, I am excited to focus on those rides today. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're ranking.
Hi, Smarties. Carly here from the podcast. You hear us talking about the right way to do Disney, but let's be honest, taking notes isn't exactly easy while you're busy momming and on the go. There's an easy way to get all of those tips organized to simplify your vacation. Check out our 4-part guide bundle available now in our Patreon shop. Also, if getting guides is something you like to help with your planning, joining our Patreon as a Diamond Mine subscriber gives you a new Disney guide every month. Either way, we have got your back on knowing how to plan your park days so you feel like the expert before you walk in the gates.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I'm so excited. We're going to dive in here. Again, we are ranking all of the non-height requirement rides at the 3 remaining parks because we already did an episode that was solely focused on Magic Kingdom, which, by the way, once again, has more of these attractions than the rest of these parks combined. But I am excited. When you all were ranking, were you surprised by your numbers? Like, did you have an overwhelming feeling here?
2 things happened when I was working on this list. The first one was we're starting with Hollywood Studios, right? There are two rides in Hollywood Studios that don't have a height requirement. And I was like, that can't be right. What else do you ride at Hollywood Studios that doesn't have a height requirement? And I was like, do we include the Skyliner and the tram from the parking lot? Like,
Right. Yeah. We're talking 2 rides from Hollywood Studios, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from Epcot, and 4 from Animal Kingdom. So I just want to dive right in here. We're going to start with the first one. We're going to go with Hollywood Studios first. So 1 to 100, we're ranking, and we're starting right out of the gate with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. First attraction in all of Disney World to have Mickey and Minnie theming. Did not even think about that before this attraction was announced. When they announced it and then they announced that fact, it was like, oh my gosh, duh. Like, yeah, there's nothing, you can't ride anything Mickey and Minnie themed in all the parks. And my personal opinion, they knocked it out of the park. Unbelievable. I love this ride. I can't get enough of this ride. But the first time I ever rode this, I remember I sat next to my wife and we didn't know what was coming. And behind every corner and in every room was some sort of insane surprise. There's a moment, without giving too much away, in Daisy's room that I was scream laughing. I mean, scream laughing till there were tears. I had so much joy riding this ride the first time, and it's still fun every time. But from pre-show to end of attraction, it's pure joy. It's absolutely incredible. It incorporates visual elements, movement elements, different changes in scenery. I love Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It's located inside the Chinese Theater, straight down the main drag there in Hollywood Studios, where the Great Movie Ride was for anybody that used to go to MGM or Hollywood Studios when it was still there. And it replaced it. And I was super bitter about that. It was very salty when they were getting rid of the Great Movie Ride. But my gosh, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, it's a 98 for me.
Dang, that's impressive. I completely agree everything you said. The moment of silence for the Great Movie Ride, because I was also very bitter about that going away. It was one of those rides that's just like, this takes a great nod to where movies have come from. And so I was really sad to see that leaving a park that's so movie centric. But I also could not believe this was the first Mickey and Minnie featured ride in Disney. In fact, I was like thinking about it when it opened. How did Goofy get a ride before Mickey and Minnie got a ride? Like that's crazy. Not to say that Goofy's ride is worth any kind of real conversation compared to this, but Allie, I also gave it a 98.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh, love that.
Oh my gosh. I'm beaming. I'm over here so excited to talk about this ride because I love this one too. It's so hard for me not to talk about spoilers. I'm not going to talk about a spoiler. However, there is a moment in the pre-show to this ride that I, as an adult, was like, how did they do that? How did they do that? Like, it wowed me so much. And my kids, like, they love it every time. And then after the pre-show, you're in this other line to, actually get on the ride. And the whole way through that, they're playing the music and it feels very cartoony and jolly. And my family has a rule that you have to dance the whole way through the queue. And I love it because it helps them get their wiggles out and we feel happy. And it's just so funny because there's my husband and I don't care how many people are looking at me. I'm dancing the whole way through that queue and just having a great time. And it's the best.
100%.
But I love the Nothing Can Stop Us Now song. I love the fun of it, the feel of it, the optimism take of it. Like, I love it so much. But I only gave it a 95.
I think the fact you're saying only gave it a 95 is there's going to be some pretty awesome rides in this. And Katie, thank you for bringing up that music in the queue. I feel like standing in that queue is one of my family's favorite things because leave it to my musically inclined children. When we stand in that queue after the pre-show, they have figured out the count to the music. And there's like that ding, ding, ding. And I cannot for the life of me, I am musically challenged, can never time when that little ding, ding, ding is going to happen. And my kids always have it like perfect.
Yeah.
And they bring in the people around them to be like, we're going to try to get when the ding's happening in the light. It's such a good ride. It's such a good ride.
Good. So
I
good.
love that.
Okay, great. I want to know where Katie took off 5 points, but that's we can talk about that later.
Gosh.
That's going to move us to the second and only other non-height requirement ride at Hollywood Studios. And Katie, you start us off here, Toy Story Mania.
Okay, Toy Story Mania is obviously in Toy Story Land, where you feel like you got shrunk down to the size of a toy. This one is another one that has a very impressive queue. Like, as you're walking through the queue, they have all of these toys like the Lincoln Logs and card games, and they have the Mr. Potato Head animatronic that is so impressive too. I love the queue itself because it's just so imaginative and over the top. But then you get to the ride, and it's going to be one of those ones where you're putting on your 3D glasses. And the cool thing about this one is it's also a game, right? It's a shooter game. And it's hard for me not to make a direct comparison between Toy Story Mania in Hollywood Studios, the Buzz Lightyear ride in Magic Kingdom, because it's also a Toy Story themed shooter ride. And I'm like, Toy Story Mania is where they got it right.
I was so nervous about what you were about to say. I was like, if you even right now say the Space Ranger spin is better.
No, not by a long shot. No. But Toy Story Mania, you have these like pull string balls that are they supposed to resemble like ping pong balls or something like that? Ping pong paddle?
Probably. Yeah, maybe.
Something, and they make the sound and everything whenever you're pulling on them, and then you ride all the way through, and there's strategies to, if you hit this one that's further away, it's more points. Like it's very much a ride where you should keep your eyes open to try to score the most. But I love that it's something that I've even been able to enjoy while Tally was 4 months old. She rode Toy Story Mania. It's a cool ride. I gave Toy Story Mania a 92.
Okay.
I love Toy Story Mania as well. I think it is so fun and so interactive. And I love the competition element. I think I've said this on the show before, but it bears repeating now. People in my life know that, like, when it comes to games, I'm very competitive. I want to win a game. Okay. It's very important to me to win a game. I will like talk this big talk going into Toy Story Mania to the point where my opponent feels very nervous. But then the truth of the matter is, and I'm ashamed and sad to say, I'm terrible at this game. It kills me. I need to like go to Disney World by myself and only ride this until I unlock the secret because my bicep gets so sore from pulling that ball slowly, like yanking, trying to continue to get my points because I'm so fatigued from being so competitive. But you know what? I have to say, like, even though I truly don't know that I've ever won this game, I still love it. And something else I love about it is you do, similar to how I was saying in Mickey and Minnie's, you go to different rooms. In Toy Story Mania, you go to different rooms. And there's like a really exciting floor pattern. So it actually even has a bit of a thrill to it. But then when you're set up in front of the different screens, like what you're shooting, like I hate the games, the rides that are shooter gun games, right? Like the Buzz Lightyear, you can't really see what you're shooting. You're kind of targeting a laser. You don't know if it's making it. I don't like those. This, when you pull that string, something comes out of it. You visually see it. So, and it changes in each room. So maybe it's a ring or a dart or a ping pong ball, or it's like different in every room, but you actually see what comes out. And if you go faster, it shoots more darts out of your gun or whatever room you're in. And if you go slower, it does less. And it just feels accurate. You know, it has like a level of accuracy to it. Whereas the laser games, you're kind of like, is my gun broken? You know what I mean? Like, you're like, I don't know. This one just feels so good. So I gave it a 92.
Both of you gave it a 92. Interesting.
Yep.
Well, not to be a spoiler, but on the Magic Kingdom episode of ranking these rides, I really gave a poo-poo score to Buzz Lightyear, which may have talked divorce papers in my husband's head because these kinds of games are his everything on Disney rides. He is so strategic in it. I can hold my own on Toy Story Mania. If my husband's not with me, I can regularly win like the vehicle high score. I have to have a lot of strategy with it.
What does that feel like? What does that feel like?
I think that's not my normal go-to because I do have some competitiveness, but I'm also a people pleaser. And so in that piece, I'm always happy when I can pull out that win. But there are some insider tips. Just one of them, for instance, is when you're in the robot one, if you work together and get the robot to open and hit the right ones, working collectively, you can open higher level scores. That's how people get the scores that they do. And so for that purpose, Sean will not let certain children of mine, we won't name names, Laker, sit with him in the ride because Laker isn't accurate enough for him in order to get the collective score.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, we should go together and tell Sean that I'm amazing at this game and he wants to be my partner.
Oh my gosh. That would be hilarious.
He's so nice. He would never have the heart to tell me I was terrible.
He would go home and be like, I thought I liked Allie.
Yeah.
we need to tell Laker to like brush up on his Call of Duty at home so those skills translate over into Toy Story Mania.
He's getting better. He's getting better. But we first did Toy Story Mania in Disneyland, in California Adventure. And Macy was 3 months old. And I love you talking, Katie, about riding it with your kiddo or your kiddos when they were babies, right? Sean had Macy on his lap and he didn't realize he was pulling the string and like whacking Macy in the head.
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to love about this ride. I gave it a 95. I refuse to have divorce papers this time. Like it is that good.
It's that fun. It really is because it's such an experience. It's like a show, a game, a ride. It's everything.
That queue is so fun to just play like I Spy in, the interactive potato head. Ugh.
My kids love to find like little toys with the letter of their name. Like there's a Y. My oldest daughter's name starts with a Y, and there's a Y on the floor. And like I have so many pictures of her over the years just pointing to that Y. You know what I mean? Like it's just so fun. Yeah, I don't even know where I took off 8 points. Like I almost want to scrub and rescore, but it's fine. I still feel good about it based on how I scored everything else.
Fair.
Okay. Becky, that's going to have you starting us. We're going to move parks now. Believe it or not, that is it for non-height requirement rides at Hollywood Studios. I do not want listeners to then think that Hollywood Studios is not good for their kids. Go listen to the show's episode. Tons of amazing shows there. Tons of things to do. You're going to have a great day. It's fine. But you're just going to only ride 2 rides.
Well, I have to point out too, like all of our scores for both of those rides were in the 90s. I feel like that speaks to how all of the rides and attractions and everything in Hollywood Studios are just bangers. Like every single one of them is a headliner.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like you may only have 2 rides, but they're 2 of the best your kids are going to ride. So like they're worth going for.
Yeah, and pitch the Disney Junior Dance Party then too.
And the other rides that are there for your kids who aren't quite as vertically challenged are among the best in Disney as well. Like
Exactly.
Tower of Terror, Rock and Roller Coaster. There's the Star Wars rides. There's so much amazingness happening in that.
The best. It's the best. Gosh, Hollywood Studios. The best. Okay.
Okay.
Go to Epcot, Becky. Take us there.
Epcot. We're going to take the Skyliner out, go to the back gates, and enter into World Showcase, where there are 2 amazing rides. I'm going to start with the one on the far side of the lagoon, which is the Frozen Ever After ride. Similar how Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway took the place of a previously loved ride. I don't know. People say that the Maelstrom is worthy of being missed comparative to, I don't know. The Frozen Ever After ride is something Disney did right, in my opinion. It really feels like the first bit of pulling characters into Epcot. There's always been the educational piece of Epcot, but pulling characters into Epcot was something Disney did really right. Frozen Ever After is a boat ride. You're going through essentially a shortened version of the Frozen story. The music is there. The animatronic characters are there. I'm so glad that they updated the faces of Anna and Elsa because they were somewhat terrifying, but they are now really, really great. The surprise in there. The first time I rode it, I had forgotten Maelstrom. Maelstrom was a forgettable ride to me. Looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely rode that ride. But incorporating how they tie the music to that shift in the ride, if you know what I'm talking about without having spoilers, I thought that was so well designed by Imagineer. I love Frozen Ever After. Our family sings throughout this entire ride. We're waving to Olaf. Marshmallow, he is the perfect addition. And I gave Frozen Ever After a 90.
Yes, I'm mindfully considering everything that you were just saying, Becky, because I never rode Maelstrom. I was not like at Disney before I was an adult, but Frozen Ever After is one of my family's favorite attractions. Like we love it. My girls have to hit it every time we go. And I like that you pointed out that Imagineering had to change it from what it was to retheme it, right? And I would say my only complaint about this ride is there's such a buildup to you seeing Elsa, and then you see Elsa, and then you're gone. So I wish that there was a longer Elsa component there, but the way that they changed that retheme does make sense. It is a really fantastic ride. They did change the animatronics so that they're those like projected face animatronics. But have you guys seen the animatronics that are happening over in Disneyland Tokyo and stuff like that?
We don't get to hold a flame to that, but think about how long it took for us to get drones.
This is true.
We're just behind.
What I want to know is, Disney is an American institution. Why don't I have that technology?
Yeah, where is it?
Anyway, it's still a fabulous ride, and I love to look at my pictures from Memory Maker and everything from this ride too. I'm always laughing in this photo. I'm gonna give it an 89.
With Frozen, I agree with everything you all said. Bringing Elsa and Anna into Epcot is such a wise thing. I have an Elsa obsessed daughter, so I that plays a little bit into this. But the thing is, I could not wait to ride Frozen Ever After the very first time. It had actually been open a bit before I ever rode it, and I could not wait to take my kids on it. They're obviously Frozen fans, as most kids are, and my son loves Marshmallow. Oh my gosh, like that scene, he just can't even, he loves it so much. But the reality is, the first time I got off that ride, you know how I said the first time I got off Mickey and Minnie, I was just like belly laughing,
Mm-hmm.
so much joy. I remember getting off Frozen and like my first overwhelming reaction was disappointment.
Mm.
Like, I don't know if it was length or story, or maybe it was the short Elsa, like I can't put my finger on what it is about it, but I just kind of feel like Frozen is one of the greatest things to happen to Disney in forever. And we have so many of these other rides that are so unique and cool. And this is just a boat ride. It's a boat ride with Frozen theming, which my kids love. But I mean, the one surprise element is awesome. And it is Frozen in Epcot. So I love that. So I actually still gave it a really high score because I was really doing my ranking based off of everything on the list. And I had to really take into account this versus some of the stuff we're going to talk about here coming up. I gave Frozen Ever After an 87. So it's still high because I respect it for what it is. Frozen, characters in Epcot, princesses, all of that, the surprise element. But I do think it's important to say, kind of disappointing.
I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
We need more. We need more.
I just think when you have something as iconic as Frozen in your canon, this is what you've created, do more. Don't just make it a boat ride, Don't just slap it together and be like, now we have Frozen. Like really go there with it,
I definitely think that's a fair scoring. I think all three of us recognize it's not Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, but it is pulling Frozen in. I love that they kept it a ride that is rideable for everyone because your 2-year-old won't be Anna and Elsa just like your grandma wants to see Anna and Elsa and you want to see Anna and Elsa. It's definitely worthy.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. And this is going to pull us to our next ride here in Epcot, which is going to be Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. And this is an example of why I'm disappointed that Frozen wasn't taken farther because Ratatouille is a full experience. It did not originate for Epcot. This is not an Epcot original attraction. This is the blueprint that came from Disneyland Paris, where this is the attraction debuted. So I don't know if that's why it's leveled up a little bit, but it is in the France Pavilion. By the way, Frozen Ever After is in the Norway Pavilion. I don't know that we said that. So this one is in the France Pavilion. It's better than Frozen because Frozen is lacking what I just said. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is fully immersive. It is 3D. It is trackless. Your little mouse car is even cute, and a rat car. And you go all around without any sense of direction. You don't know what way you're going to go. It takes over all of your senses. Feel different things. You smell different things. You see different things. Like it is so immersive in that way. And Ratatouille, while I love that movie, it certainly doesn't have the pull over Disney World or Disney in general that Frozen has, which is I think why I'm so disappointed in Frozen, because Ratatouille is incredible. It gets it so right. It's such a fun experience. And I gave Remy a 90.
That's fair. I think that's fair. I actually rode this ride for the first time in Paris, in Disneyland Paris. And when I left this ride in Paris, I got off the ride and was like, why is this not in America? That exact same sentiment that Katie was just talking about with why is these things in the foreign parks but not in the US parks. And then we came back from that trip. The next year we moved to Florida, and on our first trip to Disney after moving to Florida, we went into that center in Epcot where they kind of were talking about what's coming for the makeover of Epcot, and we saw the Remy's poster. And we all freaked out. We were like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. Then another cool story, we ended up meeting some friends that live here in Florida, and he was an engineer, and he got to work on the bringing Remy's from Paris to Epcot. And he said that working for Disney is the coolest and hardest job ever, because Disney literally said to them, we're putting it behind Paris, the backside of Paris Pavilion. We need you to go there, figure out all of everything to copy paste this ride from Paris to Epcot. And he's like, that was the hardest job because Disney was not willing to change their mind in how much space it could take up. And he's like, the building, the space, everything in Paris versus in Epcot was completely different. So now I write it with this lens of appreciating how much Imagineering had to go into bringing that incredible ride from Paris to Epcot. And so I love this ride. I love everything you said about it. The scent, the smell of the baguette at the end, like, oh my gosh, all of it is amazing. The only thing that I wish for our fellow co-host Stacy and other people who struggle with 3D rides is I wish that they could have this awesome ride without the need of 3D glasses. And otherwise, I think it's a perfect ride. I gave it a 91. Better than Frozen, but not quite as good as some of those other ones.
Yep.
This is interesting, and I'm glad I went last on this one so I could sort of hear your perspectives, because I like the Remy ride. I think it's fine, but for me, I guess what's disappointing is there are so many Disney IPs that are based from France, that originate in France. Like Beauty and the Beast is still huge 3 decades later. My girls love Princess Aurora. We need more Aurora. Come on, give me some more Sleeping Beauty. But like, whenever we're turning on Disney Plus, I can't say that Remy is like the first choice that my kids have to watch. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, the IP, like the pull of it just doesn't resonate in my heart as much as it does some of those other stories, which is my critique of it. However, the ride itself is a great ride. I love like what you were talking about, Becky, with like the scents and everything. They actually, Imagineering went even further to, if the ride is delayed, some of those projections and things that you experience have settings for if the ride is delayed to continue creating anticipation, which is hilarious. I have been stuck in that ride before where you're in the kitchen and you're waiting for this moment to happen, and you're just sort of waiting, and it's hilarious because you're watching the mice and they're trying to open the champagne bottle, and it's hilarious, but also like, oh my gosh, when is this gonna happen? So I do think it's a good ride. I guess I just wanted something different, but I'm gonna give it an 85.
It's fair.
Did you score it lower than Frozen?
I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
shocking. Wow. Okay.
Frozen is a stronger pool IP.
Yeah, exactly. Which is exactly my point, why the ride should be better.
Yeah.
It is a way stronger IP. So the ride should be way more immersive and unpredictable.
Okay.
All of that is fair, but I do want to add to this. Something I loved about Remy's was I was really nervous when they were pulling it from Paris over here was, are they going to eliminate the French language in the ride? And they don't. Like, they give you English, but they also give you French. And I think that Disney's collective giving visibility to different cultures and allowing those things to exist. Also, Katie, you're talking about your kids aren't pulled to Remy and you want to see more Sleeping Beauty. This last weekend, I just watched the Communicore show. That's the temporary Encanto show that's happening there. And I literally started bawling. I know, shocker, but I literally because I realized in that moment, there's a moment in the Encanto show that they are doing the Louisa scene, and they let the little girls come up and flex. And the fact that Disney is having a show that they're like, everybody come up here, and watching those little like 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds go up there and like flex their muscles and be like, I'm not a princess, I'm a freaking strong little girl, was just perfect. And Disney is leaning so hard into not every little girl has to be a princess and not every little boy has to be a beast. Disney is doing it right with diversifying all of this.
Love it. Yeah.
Oh, love it.
I agree with all of that. I think for me, my biggest complaint is, we've talked on the show before about that horrid sing-along, that Beauty and the Beast sing-along in the France pavilion. I'm like, you cannot have these two attractions in the same pavilion, okay?
We also can't take points off of Remy because you prefer Aurora.
Oh, come
Okay.
on.
All right, good. So we're going to stay in Epcot here. Epcot has the most out of the 3 parks. Like, everybody's always like, Epcot's not a kid park. That is wrong. That is wrong thinking. Stop saying that. Listen to the character episode. There's tons. listen to the fact that this has more non-height requirement rides than any other park besides Magic Kingdom. Like, you're wrong. This is a kid park. And which of you want to start us off here on the next one?
Oh, this is me. This is me all day long. Okay.
Oh, yeah, let's have it.
All right. So now we're heading over to the Land Pavilion, which is in World Nature of Epcot. And the ride that we're talking about is Living with the Land. It's a boat ride where, I mean, there are some animatronic parts of it too, and sort of like nature scenes that are simulated. But the bigger portion of the ride is like you're actually going through the areas, the gardens and everything that cast members take care of, where Disney is actually growing real food that they really serve to people, and they serve it right upstairs in Garden Grill. I love Living with the Land. I know it's not a ride that anyone's, man, I'm just dying to go see that. Well, I'll temper that a little bit. During the Christmas season, whenever they have the lights and everything, you will see a line for Living with the Land that gets to be like 45 minutes or an hour. During that time period, you will have a line for Living with the Land. But my favorite thing about that is it's right beside Soarin', which does have a height requirement. So for the last several years, until, you know, my youngest Tally just got tall enough to ride Soarin', it was like our strategy that we would rider swap that one. And whoever was with Tally was going to ride the ride twice on Living with the Land. And we would just swap it, and it worked out great. The timing works out perfectly between Living with the Land and Soarin' for you to just swap, which I love that for any parents that are utilizing Rider Swap. I like that, and that factors into my decision, as well as just the coolness of seeing all of the plants, seeing how innovative Disney is with growing, and it really, as a nerd, it wows me so much. I'm going to give Living with the Land, I originally scored it lower, but I'm going to give it an 81.
Wow. Go ahead, Becky.
Well, on a recent episode, I don't remember which one of the episodes it was. I was listening. I was not on this episode. At the end, you guys were joking about Living with the Land and behind the scenes tour. And you're like, who's going on that? And it's me. Sign me up.
Yes.
I love the science behind it. As a former teacher, I love the science behind it, but I also love the storytelling that Disney puts in about the scientists that grow the food and how that they can like hybrid food, and watching them. The first time I rode Living with the Land was right before Halloween, and they were growing pumpkins that were literally Mickey. They had been able to alter them to grow and have the ears on the real pumpkins. And I was just like, Disney knows how to do magic. That's all there is to it. However, I will tamper the reality of what Living with the Land is. This is not going to be a super thrilling, exciting ride. It doesn't have like a soundtrack that's going to leave you feeling inspired.
Oh.
It's a nice boat ride where you can learn some science in the middle of your theme park day. And so for that purpose, as much as it kills me because I personally do love this ride, it's nowhere near those other rides. So I gave it a 72.
So I'm going to go quickly through this because there's not a whole lot to add here. I agree that this is an incredible experience. Like, I really love it. Like, going through it's so fun. My wife, it's her favorite. She could ride it like 4 times through.
Love it.
But my kids are bored. You know, they just are. And I'm not saying your kids will be bored. Like, your kids may love it. They may love like the agriculture. Take your kids for sure. But my kids are bored. And it's not a character-driven experience. It's not a musically driven experience. It's Living with the Land. It's a boat ride through a farm. You know, like it's fine. It's cool. It's fine. And I would almost say, even though it's a non-height requirement ride, like I prefer ride it on my adult trips. I prefer look at the botany and agriculture and all that, like with my adult friends than I do with my kids, even though it's a non-height ride. So I think that factor plays as well. You know, it's cool. Love that it's there. It's fine. Not the worst Disney has to offer by a landslide, but I gave it a 60.
Okay. I was going to say, have you seen that meme that shows the old couple and they're in Italy on the boat and they fell asleep? Have you guys seen that one?
No.
Oh, it's like a thing. It's like, oh, you should travel before it's too late.
Are they dead?
No, they're not dead. They just fell asleep on the boat.
You said before it's too late.
But what's funny is that was me and Matt on our Epcot date day. We got our caramel popcorn. We were in the last row of a boat on Living with the Land on our date, and we totally both were nodding off.
Yeah, everybody listening, Katie fell asleep, but you know, it's an 80 or whatever.
I still stand by that. It's a great ride.
Okay.
The air conditioned nap has to have value.
Okay.
Listen, it gets way more value for an air conditioned nap than several of those other attractions, okay?
Okay, well, I am really excited about something. Our very next ride. I just could not be more thrilled that Becky is just going to open the conversation on this next attraction. It is just poetic that this has fallen this way.
Dare we say it's remarkable?
Dare you make them.
Okay, so the Three Caballeros. This was the ride that I drafted in our Epcot draft, which if you haven't listened to the Epcot draft, if you haven't listened to the draft, go listen to the drafts. They are so
Our drafts are so fun.
so fun. So much laughing, so much just joy.
Yeah, I love the draft. Yeah.
So the Three Caballeros are inside of the Mexico Pyramid. I love that area of the World Showcase. I think that the pyramid is among the best designs of, like, you see it and you're like, that's Mexico. It's fantastic that way. You go in and it's hidden clear at the very, very back of the pyramid area, right next to the Mexican restaurant that's back there. It's a boat ride, similar to other things we've been talking about. I'm seeing a theme of boat rides happening in Epcot. And you go through Mexico. Donald Duck is helping host you through this ride through Mexico. You're going to different cities in Mexico. There's video elements, there's animatronic elements, but ultimately the Three Caballeros pulls on my sentimental heart. But let's be real. This is a boat ride that feels very dated and represents Mexico, but they could do better. I think that this really could use an update. And so as much as it kills me that the remarkable Three Caballeros ride has to be this, I only gave it a 65.
Okay. Bottom line is you were just blowing so much smoke. This is not an amazing ride. You said they could do better. Not only they could do better, like burn it down and start over. Come on. This is like there is a video screen of fake fireworks. Like it is the weirdest. I don't understand the story. The queue inside the pyramid is such a tight squeeze. It is ridiculous. It's the most miserable, like little stretch of feet in all of Disney World. It's the weirdest attraction. The Donald and the Caballeros are cute, but like let's take them out of the attraction and just like put them on display in the pyramid and do something else over there. Do Coco. Let's have a Coco. Let's have a Coco ride inside come on. This is absurd. I get that like it's almost in my opinion so bad that it's funny at this point. It's like, well, the Caballeros have to stay, like they're a Disney staple. They're ridiculous.
Yes.
We ride it when we eat inside the pyramid because the kids are restless and it's like, oh, go take them on the boat again. You know, like that's when we ride it.
That's your rider swap while you're eating.
Our rider. Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna sit here and have a drink and you go ride that boat again. And I gave it a 20.
Oh, harsh, but I get it.
Harsh, but absolutely accurate. Go ahead, Katie.
Okay. I hate that queue, just like you said, Allie. Whenever it was COVID times and they had like the plexiglass walls up,
yes,
I was legitimately claustrophobic in that queue. It was bad. And I don't like the Three Caballeros. I had a very bad experience on the Three Caballeros ride on our first day ever at Epcot. And it was our first time in Epcot. We went on the Three Caballeros ride. And that restaurant that's right there beside the ride, some people sit like at the edge of that restaurant and see the ride. Someone was very clearly overserved and dumped their beer on my husband while we were on the ride. So I don't know, maybe just that first experience being such a not great one really kind of changed my opinion about it. But to be honest with you, I'm scoring it just as low as Allie, so maybe not. I'm giving it a 19. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I don't blame you. What I appreciate about it is that I've been on several cruises to Mexico out of Los Angeles, San Diego area, and going down that west coast side of Mexico to Cabo and Mazatlan. They do have references to those places, and so it pulls on my nostalgic mom heart because it does remind us of memories we have in going to those locations in Mexico. But in reality, your scores are probably pretty fair.
Yeah, you scored too high. Okay. So that brings us to me starting Spaceship Earth, staying in Epcot still. Spaceship Earth is the park icon. So I love that the park icon is an attraction. It is like a very slow moving car type thing. Like you're sitting like in a little vessel and you sort of take a journey through the journey of communication, right? So how we learned to write and read and communicate with one another. And actually, my kids love it. Like, I can remember when my oldest daughter was 3, we left Disney World and we had this amazing experience. We went to all the parks and Spaceship Earth was her favorite ride.
Aw.
Loved it. And genuinely, like, she really loved that. And there's a little bit of an interactive component at the end. It's nothing thrilling or anything, but it is interactive. And I always think that that's a nice little nudge. By far, not like the best ride at Epcot, by far, but also not the worst. And I give it lots of points for good storytelling. A little on the boring side with the narration, honestly, but I do really like it and I do really respect it, and I absolutely love that it's inside the park icon, right? Because you can go in all of the park icons. You can, Tower of Terror is a ride, the Tree of Life has a show, the castle has a restaurant. This has the Spaceship Earth attraction where you're riding through and learning about communications. So while it's not my favorite thing that happens in a park icon, I love that it exists. And I just think it's really middle of the road. I gave it a 50.
Oh, that's way too low. That's way too low. Let me tell you how much I love Spaceship Earth. We were at Epcot just last week and my family rode Spaceship Earth, and I'm starting to like work on Instagram and do the stories and the reels and all this. I love the storytelling element so much in this ride that I told my husband, I'm like, can you take the kids over to that playground and I'm going to go ride it again?
I can't.
And I legitimately did. I wrote it by myself because I just love it that much. I have a Thank the Phoenicians t-shirt. There are so many moments in that ride that I'm just like, I'm laughing because I love it so much. I love the learning aspect of it. And I leave that ride feeling inspired to do my part and to contribute to society in the way that I'm meant to. And I love everything about it. I gave it an 82 for the year that Epcot came out.
Katie. Why did you get to ride it again? How long was the queue when you went to go ride it again?
Okay, it was like a 15-minute queue. Okay, but for me, that doesn't detract from the ride. That only adds to the reasons why I love it more.
I too love the ride. I love the communication piece. I love the Phoenicians. I love the fact that it's a ride through the Epcot ball. Like how they get a ride inside of that is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Like I would never have guessed there was a ride inside of that when I was a young kid watching that icon be built. Mm-hmm. However, that being said, this is not remarkable.
Hashtag not remarkable.
It sure is not.
No. It is a middle of the road. It tells a good educational story. It's showing timeline of history. It's a great historical ride. Great is using that word loosely. It does tell the story well, but it's not a great ride. I think that it's a good filler if you need to get away from the heat or you need to get away from the rain. Do not wait longer than 30 minutes for this ride. Oh. I'm really impressed with some of the things that they've done. The way that the lights hang down and you're going down backwards. That's still very, very cool to me. But they could update this ride and make it so much better. I gave it a 61.
I feel like those are fair. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. We're going to take a quick break. We are ranking all of the non-height required rides. But while we're on our break, maybe you want to like and subscribe wherever you're listening right now. If you turn on your automatic downloads, you are going to make it possible for us to just keep doing this. You're going to boost us so much It's so helpful to do something so simple. Turn on those automatic downloads, like, subscribe to your channel, helps us continue to help you. We love it. You love it. So just go for it. And if you're loving listening and following along, don't forget that you can join our Patreon community as a Diamond Mind member and be privy to some guides that are going to help your vacation planning and make you just so elite at it. You're going to have so many more skills than you would otherwise have. It doesn't cost much to make you the expert you want to be. So join our Patreon community, and we will be right back after this break.
Hey there, friends. I'm Katie Boone, one of your podcast co-hosts. I'd love to invite you to join my Facebook Disney planning community called Planning Disney with Babies, Toddlers, and Preschoolers. In my group, I love discussing all the aspects of planning your magical vacation with little ones. Find my community at facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. Again, that's facebook.com/groups/Plan Disney with Little Ones. When you join, don't forget to tell me you heard about my group on the podcast. See you there.
We are back, and we are ranking all of the non-height required rides at all 3 of the theme parks outside of Magic Kingdom. We've already tackled Hollywood Studios and half of Epcot. We're going to pick it right back up here at Epcot. So far, we've been kind of in sync on some things and kind of really far on the spectrum things. My scores are interesting going forward, and I'm very curious how we're going to, like, are we going to be similar? How are we going to land here? I believe it is Katie's turn to start us off with the next Epcot ride.
So next on our list is Journey into Imagination, which is sort of over by the Living with the Land Pavilion. It's a beautiful building with this glass pyramid look and everything. People who, they were like 80s Epcot kids, they really tend to like the original version of this ride compared to the current version of it, is my general take that I get on this one. That said, my almost 3-year-old Tally, every time she sees that building, is like, Mommy, we're going to go ride that, right? And I'm like, okay, kid, let's go ride it. I can't say that it's my favorite ride. It has this goofy throwback kind of feel to it. They have like throwbacks to Flubber and stuff in it, like things that 90s kids probably would relate to, but they're just sort of out of context and strange in that place as well. The cool thing about this ride, I guess, that you would talk about the most is Figment himself. As much as Spaceship Earth is an icon of Epcot, Figment is equally a huge icon of Epcot and has a huge cult following with a lot of there's a huge fandom for Figment himself. The ride, though, it's great for toddlers. It's great for toddlers. That's what I can say about it. There are some tricks in the ride that I'm like, oh, that was kind of cool. And I don't want to spoil it, but keep your eyes open. You'll see some interesting things in there. I have to say, as an adult, my favorite aspect of the ride is actually at the end where there's the playground. And my kids like to go play in the musical playground, and now they have the Figment meet and greet there. My favorite aspect of the ride is not the ride at all. Yeah. So I tried to give it a fair score of a 64.
I wouldn't even call that fair.
What I hear is getting off the ride is your favorite part of the ride.
Is that so?
The only thing that's redeemable about this is that it gave us Figment, which people love. I don't even really care about Figment, to be honest. I don't have any desire to meet him. I don't have a connection with him. There's no nostalgia there for me. It's just not my thing. I respect the heck out of the fact that people do love Figment and associate him with Epcot and the popcorn bucket catastrophe. I get that he's important to people. And so I respect it for that. And literally my points come from that. Otherwise, I just think this is strange. Like you said, it's a goofy ride, but not in a fun, goofy way like Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. This is just goofy weird. And for any Smart Moms travel agents listening today, the hidden Mickey will be goofy. I just feel like it's not the one. So it gave us Figment and nothing else. Epcot used to have this ride called Body Wars. I don't know if you remember that. It was so long ago. Like I was a little girl, but it was like Star Tours. It was a very similar setup to Star Tours. Sat in a thing like that, and you went inside the human body. And I think it was over in that area where this all is. Like I would have way rather kept that attraction. That's really cool. I remember it very well than this attraction. This is just so weird. it has this massive building and cult following, and maybe I'm the one that doesn't get it, but for me, it's a 30.
I think it's fair. I don't have much to add other than, again, it gave us Figment, and Figment is a staple and something that I hope never goes away. I think that he's a great mascot of Epcot, if you will. The ride leaves something to be desired. It feels like the 1990s version of Honey, I Shrunk the Audience in Disneyland. What it reminds me of, like that vibe feels very similar, and the ride could go away and we could just keep Figment in another way, and I would be completely happy with that. I gave it a 40.
Yeah, the meet and greet. Keep the meet and greet, you know? They had a Honey, I Shrunk the Audience at Disney World as well.
Oh, did
Yeah.
they?
I know I did Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. Like, I know I did it. So it must have been there because I didn't go to Disneyland until I was an adult.
Yeah,
But that callback
interesting.
just made me like remember. Yeah, this is just okay. I mean, I don't know. All right, Becky, that's you then. Final non-height requirement ride at Epcot.
This is such a good area. This area we're going to in Epcot, it's kind of just across the courtyard from the Figment ride, and it's to the Seas with Nemo and Friends. I was blown away the first time I rode this ride. Your toddlers are going to be so enthralled by so many surprises that are in this ride. The way that they use projections and animation, especially with the pulling it towards the end of the storytelling into the aquarium that you can visit in this area. This is also where you get off this ride is where you meet Little Joe, which also again pulls to me as nostalgia. I really do love this ride. I think it's a great way to escape. It's going to entertain everybody in your family. I think there's enough going on. There's good storytelling. One slight warning that when you're going into the EAC tunnel, if you get dizzy, you might want to close your eyes there. But it's still so cool. I really do love it. I gave it an 85.
That's actually the same score that I gave it. I also gave it an 85. We love the Seas with Nemo, and my family is that family at the end that we are singing loud and proud, like in the big blue world. Like, I don't care who hears us, we are singing that. We love it so much. And Imagineering just designed it so well, especially with, as you mentioned, Becky, how it empties out into the aquarium. And there are so many things in that aquarium for you to explore during your day. I talked a little bit at the beginning episode about Turtle Talk with Crush. My girls always want to go play on what they call the shark playground, which it's not really a playground, but it's like this area for them to sort of explore and learn more about sharks. They love it so much. We love Seas with Nemo, so I also gave it an 85.
Wow. Okay. I don't like this ride.
Oh my gosh, Allie.
I feel
What are you to like?
I'll tell you, and now I'm questioning maybe I need to go on it again. I love that it's there, and I recommend to families that I work with that they ride it because it's Nemo, right? Like Nemo is so special, so you should absolutely ride it. But Katie said it was so well thought out. I actually feel like the opposite. I've always kind of ridden that attraction and just felt like it was slapped together. Kind of like nothing special, nothing like immersive. No, like I just sort of felt like it was slow and lackluster and just a movie and didn't really
What?
do Nemo. I just have always felt like it just didn't really do Nemo justice. You guys are going to be so mad at me. I don't love it. I don't. I always just kind of thought it was a throwaway. I love
I
it.
have to rebuttal that this is way more than just a movie. Way. Like, I have no idea how you're comparing the Seas with Nemo with a movie ride.
Yeah, maybe I need to really open my eyes here again because you all talking about it, I'm like, what am I missing? I do love that song. The song is sweet, and I like singing it with my kids as well. Like that's a happy moment, a happy memory.
The projections of the fish into the water, like the real water,
It's cool.
it's so cool.
I'm just not understanding.
And the searching for Nemo being lost and the kind of hide and seek version of Nemo throughout the ride.
Yeah, I still gave it.
Really do I tell you you're wrong, Allie, but you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm about like I'm gonna have to ride it on my next trip again and just be like, what am I missing? I need to put one of Katie's eyes in and one of Becky's eyes in because I don't get it. I did give it a 63, but yeah, it's just not, I don't know.
Oh, man.
And the line here is like awesomely quick.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Right. Nobody
you're
wants to
inside
ride
the
it.
entire time. You're basically walking the entire time. You're in the line queue.
It's a cool cue, too.
You can like move the dials on the lifeguard things. Like there's
There's one point where like your vantage point in the queue is if you are Nemo in the scene where he's about to go touch the boat. You can see the boat above you. Like it's cool. The whole thing is cool. You're crazy, Allie. Crazy.
And the fish in the queue, like almost playing charades when the fish are making the different things. There's so much fun things happen. Maybe you take a nap when you go on this ride.
I don't know. Interesting.
Before we head out of Epcot, I have to say too that right across there from Seas with Nemo is the new Journey of Water attraction that's like Moana inspired, and that is like perfectly placed there right by Seas with Nemo. I love that. It does take the educational vantage point of the water cycle and everything, but my kids love all of the tricks that are happening in there. Even though it's not a ride, it's an experience. It's an experience.
Okay, so really fast though, the Honey I Shrunk the Audience at Disney World was in Epcot back in the day. Just fact for anybody listening that remembers that. I couldn't remember where it was, but it was Epcot.
Interesting.
Okay, that's going to bring us then to another park. We're going to move out of Epcot and into Animal Kingdom to finalize our rankings here. And it's going to be Triceratops Spin. Triceratops Spin are little Triceratop cars the size of a Dumbo car. And it is a circular attraction like Dumbo. Goes around in a circle, but you're sitting in a Triceratop. It is Imagineering at its worst because it's just a carbon copy with a dinosaur. It is lame and weird and not worth it. Just go ride the carpets or Dumbo, and this is a 10.
Oh. Okay, shots fired. Shots fired.
What are we doing? Oh, go play in the boneyard. Go look at the animals. Like, what are we doing? This is a 10.
The boneyard play area is incredible, and I'm a little sad that it's going to be going away with the retheme of the dino area. But to your point, Triceratops Spin, of the spinner attractions, the Dumbo, the carpets, Triceratops Spin is definitely the weakest, right? Like Dumbo has an indoor air-conditioned queue that makes it really cool. The carpets with Aladdin has like, if you fly at just the right height, the camel spits the water on you. Like there are cool elements of those rides. But Triceratops Spin doesn't really have like an added like, oh, that was so fun factor. So I also ranked it pretty low, but I didn't give it a 10. I gave it a 35.
Why? Go to an animal observation deck to ride this.
The redeeming quality of Triceratops Spin is that it gives your kids who aren't into the boneyard digging thing something to do while the rest of your family's going on dinosaur. There's not much like this feels like a traveling circus ride. This is not Disney doing its thing, but I gave it a 25.
Yeah.
It's better than, I like it better than the Astro Orbiters.
Okay.
That's not really saying that much.
No, it's not.
Yikes. We need a new attraction there, Disney. We need a new attraction.
Yeah. Becky, go ahead and sob through your description of the next attraction.
Navi River Journey is over in Pandora. It is beautiful, truly beautiful work. The animatronic is massive and just a marvel to look. My very favorite thing in Navi River Journey is when you're going through and you're seeing, it's a riverboat, right? It's another boat ride. Slow, great music though. I do love the music in this ride. When you're going through and you're seeing some environments of the Pandora area and seeing the way that they were able to make it look like there are frogs on the leaves that are above you, I think is really, really cool. The line queue can sometimes be long, especially for how short the ride is. I don't like that the ride is so short. And if I was to compare this to like Pirates of the Caribbean, I don't think it's worthy of being compared there, but it does feel like a really nice extension to my very favorite Disney ride of all parks, which is Flight of Passage. So it lets you still feel immersed in that area after just getting off of Flight of Passage. I think it's beautiful, the music, the scenery, everything. I gave it an 82.
I like Navi River Journey a lot for a couple of reasons. Number one, Flight of Passage is one of the most incredible attractions in all of Disney World, and that's the other attraction in Pandora, and it does have a very high height requirement. And I love that there is also an option in this incredible land and area that everybody in the family can enjoy. Now they're tall enough, but before they were, and we would get off Flight of Passage and talk about how incredible it was nice to have something that could also include them. I respect Navi River because it is so much Imagineering. It is gorgeous. It has so many unbelievable elements. Is it short? I think it's like almost 5 minutes long. I think it's 4.5 to 5 minutes long.
Maybe I want it to be longer.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it's what?
absolutely 4.5 to 5 minutes long. It just is. When you said it was short, that really threw me off. I think it's not like very thrilling in any way, but I think it's okay because I think the point of this attraction is to take in the beauty that is Pandora at night and really be immersed into this land that Disney worked so hard to create. And then they brought it into the attraction. Even just when you're going underneath and you see like the footprints of those animals walking above you and the different flowers. Every time I'm in there, I just look around in absolute awe. How did they do it? Who designed it? How long did it take? The giant dream catcher. It's just so much work. It is thought through and thorough, and its point isn't to be thrilling. And that animatronic at the end, I think she has a name. I feel really bad. I can't.
People usually refer to her as the shaman.
Okay. She is so, like, you could cry looking at her. She's gorgeous and so much Imagineering, which I really respect. I like Navi River Journey. I think it's great. It's not the best that there is, but it's great for all the things I said. And I gave it an 85.
I think when I'm saying I want it longer, I think that also speaks to how good it is because it feels so short to me. Like Pirates of the Caribbean, for comparison, is like 8 to 9 minutes long.
Mhm.
And I want it to be longer because I do love that
Yeah.
environment. I love everything about that ride.
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom gets criticized a lot for being a park that if you have toddlers or little ones, there's just not a lot of rides for them to do. There's like a lot of shows and other things, but there's not a lot of rides. And still, somehow, my family has only ever ridden Navi River Journey maybe like 2 or 3 times ever. Because to Becky's point, the line is usually pretty long and the ride itself feels short because of how long you waited. And I'm never in the mood to do that, if I'm being honest with you. My kids do think it's cool, and like you said, the shaman animatronic at the end, she is totally incredible. But for me, it's just kind of like an okay. Like the immersion factor is truly great, but I gave it a 59 because we don't hit it very often, and it's never high enough priority for us.
Yeah. Okay. I don't hate that. I'm not mad about it. All right. So then Katie, start us off with the next one.
Oh gosh, do I have to start us off on this one? Okay, all right. This is the Wildlife Express train, which is taking you over to Rafiki Planet Watch. I guess we're going to call it a ride because it's really more of a form of transportation. It's the only way to get to Rafiki Planet Watch, to do those really cool animator drawings of the characters or to go over to the affection station with the petting zoo. So you're going to take the Wildlife Express train over to that area of the park. The train is unique in that if you get in a train, you sort of expect the seating to be side by side, but the seating is actually lengthways, like sideways in the car. So it's unique in that way. That's the only way that it gets bonus points for me, though, honestly. I only ride it when I must. So I gave it a 23, which I think is my lowest score that I've ever ranked anything.
Oh,
You want me to go?
yeah.
I definitely ranked it higher than 23. I think that there are some redeeming qualities about the Wildlife Express train, one of them being where it takes you to. The petting zoo is not my jam. In fact, I have allergies that's just like, let's not go there. But going back there to the Animator Academy is so worth your time. Going and letting your kids learn how to draw. We're not rating the Animation Academy, we're rating the Express train. But when we're getting in line, you never really have to wait in line to get on this train. You're in the shade. You do get to see some behind the scenes of what we're going to talk about next, which is Kilimanjaro Safari. So I think that that's a redeeming quality. I think anytime I get the chance to see the behind the scenes of what these amazing cast members do, we love the old feel of the suitcases that are like piled on top of this train. Like it's not just another train. It has that African feel that like Ali talked about, the pulse of the park. It has that theming continuing onto the train, and it's essentially just a round trip. It takes you back to Rafiki's Planet Watch, and then it brings you right back to that Africa area of Animal Kingdom. And I'm not going to build it up that it's an amazing ride and you have to do it, but I definitely do think it's worth doing and going back and checking out what's back there. So for that purpose, I don't score it high or low. I score it a 50.
I'm going to cling on to a couple of things you just said. It's just a round trip. It's just in my opinion, it is a train. You can't judge the train on the fact that it takes you somewhere cool. We're judging the train here. Okay. And while I do love a train as much as anybody else, if I'm riding a train, I'm probably riding it in Magic Kingdom. And if I'm riding this train, it's solely because I want to go somewhere. I'm probably not doing it just for enjoyment. So unless you have a train junkie in your family, you're probably not just riding it for enjoyment. So that's why I gave the Wildlife Express chain a 15.
You have some extremes here. You have like loves, and it's just like.
I actually have some middles too, though. But like this one, like we were being very liberal, giving it the right to be called a ride.
I agree.
So that's going to bring us to our very final non-height requirement ride. It is still at Animal Kingdom. And Becky, I believe it is your turn to cap us off here and tell us what you think of Kilimanjaro Safaris.
Kilimanjaro Safari. We're going to start with the tip of ask to sit on the back row, because this is Animal Kingdom doing Animal Kingdom. This is getting in a massive Jeep, having an entertaining driver take you out on an expedition to see wildlife, what feels like could enter your vehicle. There's zoos and then there's Animal Kingdom. They are not the same. Kilimanjaro Safari is, to me, the heart of what Animal Kingdom is and should be. It feels.
Are you calling the safari the heart of Animal Kingdom?
I agree with that.
It is. It is what you go to Animal Kingdom for.
More than the Harambe Market?
Yes. Although the Harambe Market is at the beginning and end of the Kilimanjaro Safari. So if you're looping it in there, I'm all for it, because Kilimanjaro Safari, it feels like those zebras that are walking right there, like you could reach out and pet them. Please don't. But you're seeing elephants, you're seeing rhinos, you're seeing wildebeests, you're seeing lions that also, you're not seeing lions in a cage. You're seeing lions up on what feels like Pride Rock. You're getting amazing interactions with giraffes walking by you, and every ride's going to be different. You will ride the ride. If you ride it twice, ride it once in the morning at sunrise when the animals are super active, and then ride it again at sunset at golden hour, and you're going to have two completely different experiences. I have nothing negative to say about this ride other than it's not my very favorite ride in all of Disney. So the only thing I can give it any deductions for is that it's not my favorite ride at Disney. I would ride it over and over and over again. It is amazing. I gave it a 99.
Wow.
Whoa. Okay, that's really high. I think Kilimanjaro Safari is great. And Becky, I really feel like you said it perfectly when you said it feels like the heart of what Animal Kingdom is and what it's supposed to be. And I love it. I love it for all those reasons. We have had giraffes like right beside our Jeep before. We've had rhinos right beside our Jeep before. It's incredible. Like, it's truly an experience that is very singular and very unique to Animal Kingdom. I would actually argue that there's no bad time to go on Kilimanjaro safaris. I know that the animals will be more active in the morning or like right at the end of the day whenever the heat is cooling off. But I often go on Kilimanjaro safari in the middle of the day, in the heat of the day, and we have never had a bad experience. We see tons of animals every time and often get like up close encounters. So we love it. I give it an 89.
Yeah, this is incredible. This is exactly what you all said. It is Animal Kingdom. Disney found a way to actually make it an immersive experience. I think I already told the story about my spring break trip when the giraffe, we actually posted it on our Instagram at Smart Moms Plan Disney Podcast. You can see like the giraffe literally like came in our car. His head was like in the car. It was amazing. Ride it in the morning, ride it at night, ride it anytime you can. Get your lightning lane because the wait is going to be long, and experience this ride. If you're going to Animal Kingdom, this is why. This and Pandora. And I gave Kilimanjaro Safari a 97. And where did my points come off? I'm not even positive. It's so great. I'm happy every time. It's so long, but you can't even say how long it is because if there's a giraffe standing in the road, you're going to be stopped. You really do take the lead of the land and you really are just on a different experience every time. Like it's the only ride really, I mean, I guess you could make an argument for living with the land that your experience will be different every single time. And maybe Toy Story Mania because you get different scores. But like this is the one where your experience is different, even if you just ride it at a different time of day. You can really give yourself that thrill. So it's wonderful.
I think it's worth pointing out that, like you mentioned, the line is usually long for this one. It's worth getting a Lightning Lane for. But the same way that you pointed out that this ride is a long ride, I have been on Kilimanjaro safaris for like 25 minutes before.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
definitely feel like you get your bang for your buck, even if you're waiting for that one.
Yeah, the only thing that might be longer is like Rise of the Resistance, the full start to finish experience there. Other than that, I mean, you're experiencing this for a really long time. Okay, so we did it. We made it all the way through our list. We have now officially ranked every non-height requirement attraction in all of Disney World because we already did Magic Kingdom. Becky is going to tally those totals and we will be back. Stay tuned because we have the number one top attraction spread across 3 parks.
Hey, wait. I know you're ready to get back to the podcast, but I've got something very simple for you to do. Join my Facebook group, Disney Planning Made Simple. I'm Stacy, one of your podcast hosts, and I have a sweet, friendly Facebook group made for those of us who thrive in the simple pleasures of life, things like family, food, and Disney. Join at facebook.com/groups/Disney Made Simple or follow with the link in the show notes. We'll be so happy to see you there.
All right, we are back. I'm so excited. Katie and I do not know the outcome here. So there were 13 rides that we ranked today, spread across the 3 parks, Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and Animal Kingdom. I just want to one more time point out to everyone listening, Epcot was the park among the 3 of these with the most non-height requirement attractions. Keep that in mind when you're planning your trip because people don't give Epcot enough credit. Okay, Becky, you are up. Let us know where we at.
All right, so we're ranking 13 rides, and coming in, this is a shocker, I'm sure. The remarkable Triceratops spin is coming in at the bottom of the list with a 23. That shock anyone?
Yes. That shocks me because there's definitely one that should have been on the bottom and it's not.
I don't know which one you're thinking.
We couldn't even almost qualify for a ride.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true.
Listen. The Wildlife Express train comes in at 12 with a very close by 29.
Okay.
So
I support that because I would rather ride the train.
me too.
Oh gosh, no.
Absolutely.
At least the train's a train. The train's not going to feel like you're at the neighborhood circus that's
free. This is a themed train ride and you're resting for a little bit. They could have Triceratops spin at like the Carnival. Okay, next.
Here's how I'm basing this. My 2-year-old wants to do Triceratops spin. She does not care about the train.
All right, next.
well, on these we're saying thank you next to both of those rides, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next one coming in at 11 is the Three Caballeros. It is not as remarkable as I have historically represented it. I'm sorry for misleading you. It's worthy of being at the bottom, but if you're a fan of Donald or Mexico, it might be worth a ride. Okay. Number 10. Inching into the top 10 in these 3 is Figment with The Journey into Imagination with a 45. Number 9, Katie, sorry to break your heart, is Spaceship Earth.
Oh.
Number 8, and this shocks me that this is ahead of Spaceship Earth personally, but I love it. I don't know if everyone else does. Coming in at number 8 with a 71 is Living with the Land.
I think when you're just looking at what it's up against. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. And then this feels so crazy to me that we're putting these next to each other because only a 75, 4 points better than Living with the Land is Navi River Journey. Is that right?
No.
That's not right. Katie was harsh
It's
on
not right because Living with the Land should be higher than Navi River Journey.
Oh gosh. Okay. Number 6. Allie's confused here with a 78 is The Seas with Nemo and Friends. And really, go ride it. Give it a try for sure.
I will, but I'm glad it did not break into the top 5.
The top 5, we actually have a tie happening here. So we need to hash out which one of these is the higher of these. So we'll say it's tied for 4th, and one of them is going to be 4 and 5.
Okay.
Frozen Ever After and Remy's Ratatouille Adventure.
Oh,
I think Remy, hands down, it has a better Imagineering. It's not just a boat ride. It immerses senses. It's way more of an experience with immersion, theming, Imagineering, and thrill. It wins hands down. Frozen is only good because it's Frozen.
okay, all right, fine. I'll give it to you. I feel like that persuades me. But really, whenever I was thinking between these two, which one is better, the thing that made me think, okay, I like Remy better is at the end where you're shrinking and then you go back up to being a human. My husband or my kids all hold hands and we jump and we say, all right, we're full size now. So I guess it has more of a magic element to it for me. I'll give Remy the win there.
It's way more magical. It just is.
It really, really is. And remember I was talking about this being a 3D ride and wishing that they could eliminate that so more people could enjoy it. I think they're actually testing, maybe even have completed the conversion of it into a non-3D glasses ride in Paris.
Oh, wow.
So maybe it's something that will come to America. It's 2024. Can we move on beyond having to wear 3D glasses?
Makes people sick. All right. I know
Yeah.
what's in the top 3 because I'm following along and hopefully listeners are too, but I don't know what way they're going to fall. I hope I know how they fall. I hope I know what you're about to say for 3, but let's have it.
Number 3 with a score of 93, Toy Story Mania.
Perfect. That's what
We happy?
I was hoping. Yeah. I don't think it deserves to beat
Okay.
the other 2.
So we know that these 2 are among the best of the best. And maybe we do need to hash out these 2 in particular, even these top 3 compared to Magic Kingdom, how they do rank against those top non-height requirement rides, because I really do feel like these top 3 might be the best non-height requirement rides in Disney.
I don't disagree with you.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Number 2 with a score of 95 is Kilimanjaro Safari.
I feel all right about them.
Wow. Yeah, I do too. I love it. This list is perfect.
It is. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, number 1 with a score of 97. It really is essentially a perfect ride. There's so much to love about
Right.
Conductor Goofy. Are you kidding me? He's the cutest.
It's so good.
Conductor Goofy is incredible. This is such a good ride. This is making me happy. I love our list. I think we nailed it. I really do. If you disagree, if you don't think we nailed it, please tell us. Let us know. We like to hear when we're wrong, even me. And I'm thrilled with it. I love it. This is the order I would probably prioritize and ride these attractions. I think it's so interesting because Hollywood Studios only has 2 on our list, but they're both in the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
Keep those kinds of things in mind when you're planning your parks. There are no parks that are not good for your kids and family. They're all amazing. They all offer something really special. I hope we left you with that idea today. If you liked this episode, if you like all of our ranking episodes, or if you are a regular listener, or even if this is your first time, it would mean so much to us if you left us a 5-star ranking and a review wherever you're listening on any podcast platform, YouTube, or even on social media. Recently, we had a listener, DJ Adventures, said, "Love, I stumbled upon this podcast after being in a Facebook group when I was planning my son's first Disney trip, and I haven't stopped listening. My husband says, still listening to the Disney podcast? I love it. So much learned, and it keeps my Disney blues away. Highly recommend." DJ Adventures, so sweet of you. We are so grateful that you are listening, and we are helping drive your husband crazy. And of course, curing your Disney blues. That's part of the reason why we all host this podcast and help plan Disney trips, is because we have the Disney blues too. And talking about Disney and imagining these trips is how we keep that away. So thank you again for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to check out our other non-height requirement ride episode, Top Rides at Magic Kingdom without height requirements. You can find it in our queue, along with other great episodes and content that will help make your trip magical. Until next time, we'll see you real soon.